Welcome back, welcome in, welcome all to the Like That podcast, episode 27 now, with the double N's, Nico and Nick. No Brooklyn this week. Nick, how are you, man?
R.I.P.
I'm so excited for what we have in store for today's episode. I've been waiting for this episode for so long.
I had to do a lot of homework before this episode, and I think I'm prepared. I hope I came prepared. Um, but because you never want to do a mock draft and not sound like you don't know what you're talking about. So,
Yeah, today we're
um, I'm also excited.
we're doing our classic weekly NBA picks. Who's been good? Who's been bad? And then it's a full mock draft episode, diving into some questions pre-draft, and then Nick and I are going to be drafting the top half of the first round, and we're going to be alternating picks. Nick's going to be taking odds. I'm going to be taking evens. But before we get into any of that, before we get into the NBA, the NFL, March Madness just wrapped up, and I know you weren't on the episode when Brooklyn and I talked about our brackets and who we had winning, but you and I both picked Michigan to win it all.
Yep.
Don't we look
Uh, I
good?
actually, I actually, I won one of my brackets that I was doing with a few of my other buddies. So I won some coin off of that. And actually, I needed Michigan to win if I wanted to come in first. I didn't do so hot towards the Elite Eight. I had really bad picks going into it. Like UConn was, I should have. I picked them getting eliminated in Sweet 16, and looking back on it, I'm kind of kicking myself from that.
Well, yeah, I mean, being a Connecticut guy, I can't say not going to UConn. I've always never had like a lot of passion towards them, but kind of in comparison to like other teams that are local, like I'll root for them when I got them on, and obviously March Madness I try to, but I try to be realistic with my bracket. I thought they were gonna lose to Duke, and yeah, that certainly did not happen. But I was in the same spot with you as I needed Michigan to win for me to finish in the top five of a bracket league that you were also in, of course. But 60 plus people in this league, and I made my
I
bracket
think I
at
came in. I came in sixth in that, so
yeah,
I wasn't
right
far
right out
behind
of the
though.
money winners, almost on the
Right out of the
podium.
one. Hey, almost top five though.
But
Top 10.
I had an insane conflict of interest trying to watch that game because I was like, man, UConn winning this would be cool. They're the underdogs. I always love an underdog. And also just like a really cool narrative for the UConn's like team history. You go, the run of dominance Dan Hurley's had in the last 5 years. But that Michigan team did exactly what I said they were going to do as someone that doesn't really know anything about college basketball. I was like, this is just a team that they don't really have like that true top talent that's going to go into the NBA draft, like a Cam Boozer on Duke. But they're just like a really well cohesive team, a lot older than UConn. UConn's got a lot more, I think, NBA prospects, whereas Michigan is just trying to win a ball game. So
Hmm.
happy with my bracket. It's the second time in 5 years that I picked the right winner, so I'm hype.
Nice, dude. This is, I think, the first time I
But
picked the winner.
it gave me a good idea for the question of the day, tying in March Madness to the NFL draft. Would you rather be the, say, seventh guy on the team that won the March Madness tournament, or would you rather be the number one overall pick in the NFL draft?
I think I'd rather be 1-1,
What if you
and
were the third best player on the team that won the national championship?
would probably rather still go 1-1.
What if you were
You
the
don't get any financial security for a long time. You don't get that 1-1 contract if you win a national championship.
what if you hit the
Just saying.
shot to win the national championship?
Where's the guy that hit the shot for Villanova now
Dude,
when they won the national
he came back this year and they remade the shot.
championship? Like, I don't know. I think when you're, I mean, like, when you're, I mean, this question, it's kind of depends on the standpoint. Like, if you ask a college athlete that, they're gonna say win a national championship. But realistically, like, I feel like going 1-1 is kind of like everybody's dream. And not only that, it's like you have a lot of guys that win national championships that don't even make the league. But not necessarily. I mean, if you make 1-1 and you're a bust, you still get a payday regardless.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, do you take the money or do you take the ring, the
I
championship?
feel like I don't know, especially with all the NIL deals in college right now. I feel like a lot, and I could be wrong, but I feel like it's more so money at this day and age.
Yeah, I mean,
But you know, I don't want anybody coming at me saying that. Call like it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like
Well,
if I would rather go 1-1. But yeah, if I was on a team that could compete, then yeah, I would obviously want to win a national title too. But
yeah, I
you know,
can't blame you for wanting 1-1 last week when we had the question. I said NFL, like, backup quarterback, just because I get a consistent payday each year. But
and I said golfer,
I'm kind
and
of
then Tiger Woods.
he's still gonna golf. He might not, you might need a designated driver going forward, but
Why? How can he still drive? How is this guy still allowed to get behind the wheel?
we think of Tiger Woods as this incredible golfer, but I think we need to really put some respect on the lawyer of Tiger Woods.
I just got off the phone with the president. Sorry.
Oh well, yeah, he's got links there too. We didn't forget links.
Yeah.
What a great pun! What a great pun. But all right, let's talk NBA. Let's talk teams of the week. Um, my team of the week. It's a repeat actually from last week, so I know it's still fresh here, but I'm going with the Denver Nuggets. Let me pull up my stats really quick and move them over here. So the Denver Nuggets currently on a 9-game win streak. 6 of those games they've cashed the over. They also had a 4 days ago in San Antonio, good 4-point win there. So some good competition, some wins against the Raptors too. But you have Utah. They played a couple times in there, but they beat Phoenix, they beat Portland. So not nothing teams. But one thing I found really interesting is even though they are on this current 9-game win streak, they're under 70.5 first half team total points has cashed in 9 of its last 10. So a team that is still, like finding ways to close out these games, but necessarily isn't, putting up historic scoring numbers in the first half. But quick shout out to Denver there. Another interesting thing. I know as we're recording this, they're playing Memphis tonight, but to end the season, they play OKC and San Antonio, and then they're in the playoffs. So shout out Denver, but that's a little bit of a tough schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, I mean, they're kind of it's weird right now because it's the Nuggets, Lakers, Rockets, and with these 3 games left, they all have the same record. So it's basically gonna be who's playing Minnesota and then who's gonna be playing each other in the first round. So if it ended today, Denver would play Minnesota, and then Lakers, Rockets would be in the first round. I think Denver matches up pretty well with Minnesota. I mean, we've seen this series already before. We've seen Denver win. So, I mean, I think that's kind of what they're hoping for here. But yeah, those 2 final games at the end of the season is kind of tough. But then again, though, I know the Spurs play tonight. Wemby already got ruled out. So it's only a meaning of like if these rosters are even going to be full strength the final 2 games of the season. So it kind of all depends there. But yeah, I mean, 9 wins heading into the final 3 games of the season. Denver looks pretty good, man. But to go along with that, heading over to the East, my team of the week, Charlotte Hornets. Um, this is a team that we've talked about a lot this NBA season. They are 8-2 against the spread in their last 10. They're 7-3 in their last 10 outright. They're gonna finish as the best team against the spread in the NBA this season. They finished with the 62% coverage rate this season, which is actually insane. I mean, a lot of those games they were underdogs and they won outright. I mean, their record right now 43-39, and they had the best against the spread percentage. So when you're looking at it, when they covered, they're covering positive by 5. So they're covering within 5 or more points, which is the best in the NBA. So not only do they have the best coverage rate, but they're doing it at a pretty high rate. So Charlotte Hornets, I mean, they're looking pretty good. They're tied right now for the 9 seed with the Magic. I mean, the bottom of the East is kind of tough right now. They're actually tied with Philly as well. And then with these final 3 games, I mean, the 5 through the 9 is kind of up in the air right now with these final 3 games. A lot can happen because you have Hawks with 45 wins, Raptors with 44, and then the 7 and 9 are tied with 43. But they look good. I mean, they took a tough L to the Celtics last night, I believe. But with their schedule right now to end the year, they play. They actually just have 2 games left. They finished with Pistons and the Knicks. So 2 really important games for this Hornets team heading into the playoffs.
Charlotte, you mentioned the 62% cover rate, and I can only imagine what that number is if you like subtract the first like month and a half of the year. When we
Mm.
started talking about NBA is really when Charlotte really started to catch wind in the media. So something there that I think that if you got rid of the first month and a half, I think that number's north of 70. But
Oh, probably.
and to laugh about another thing, the Hornets have been talked so highly through the media, and again they played some good basketball, in the last 2.5 months of the season. But we still look at this record at 43-39. Like we're like, oh my god, these Hornets, they're moving mountains, and it's like, brother,
They just score.
they
They're
could.
just a fun team. They're just a fun team to watch, and I feel like for the last 3 years we've been saying that, and they haven't really resorted to anything. But now, like, they have probably the rookie of the year in their team. Melo's balling out. Like,
Do you see them winning a
yeah,
playoff series? Like, I can see them getting out of the play-in, but do you see them winning a playoff series? You're going to be facing
probably not.
Detroit or Boston.
I don't see that happening, but I could see them if they make it out of the play-in. I mean, that's a win for the franchise itself. Making the postseason for this team would be a win for itself. I mean,
That is true.
stepping stones.
That is true. But moving it over to our poop teams of the week, Memphis Grizzlies. Keeping it short and sweet here. They have not been great as of late, but specifically, first half money line 0-10, first quarter money line 1-10. A team that is just, they're tanking. They're tanking, and they are making sure that it is known. Um, Recent opponents, like, I know they're currently on a 5-game skid. They won against Chicago, right before that 5-game losing streak. That interrupted a 5-game losing streak. So you're talking about a team that has won for its last 11. But not much you could say. This is a roster that's obviously been incredibly beat up and has a lot of G League talent, late round picks here, and like, yeah, you traded away Triple J. So I'm not gonna shit on the Grizzlies for being bad, because that's obviously what they're trying to do. But don't put your money on Memphis in any way. Not in the first half, not in the first quarter, not the money line. You wanna fade this team entirely.
They have won 13 games at home this year. Like, that's so bad, dude. And it's really a shame because, like, they blew up the team. They traded Jaren Jackson. Well, I don't know why they didn't trade John Morant if you're just gonna fully blow up the team. Like, I get that's your
I
cornerstone.
If
Like,
you saw what
I
Trey Young
understand
went
it.
for, and you think, well, maybe if John Morant's price is going to be close to that, maybe you do hold out. I think that's
Yeah,
realistic.
understand. That's understandable. But also with the package that they got for JJ, I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, this team's in a weird spot, but also when you look at the standings in the West, they are the fourth worst team in the Western Conference. There's 3 teams that are even worse than them. So it's pretty bad, but all things considered in the West, it's pretty ugly. But moving to my poop team, we're going back over to the East. This team's really bad. This is the Washington Wizards. They've lost their last 7 straight games. 1-9 in their last 10. They are 1-4 against in the spread in their last 5. 5 out of their last 7 losses in their game in their losing streak has been by double digits. Their worst one was 35-point loss to Portland. Yeah, you want to talk about a team that like really has. I mean, like aside from the Trey Young trade and getting Anthony Davis, it's like if you're a Wizards fan, you're literally just hitting fast forward. Like you're waiting for the draft lottery. Like it like the obvious like this. Basically, it's a tie between if the Wizards or the Pacers are gonna have the best odd for 1-1. Even then, it doesn't even matter. But like, uh, 6-1 games on the road, 6-34 road record. Like,
I
oh my god,
I,
dude.
I think you said it best when you're like, if you're a Wizards fan, you're just, it's like sim to off season. You,
It's like yes, it's literally like when you load in the 2K franchise and you're doing a tank year because you just want all the picks, so you hit simulate full year. Like this is what you want. Like you stopped at the trade deadline, you made some trades, and then you're like, all right, let's just sim the second half. Like that's
yeah,
basically what it is.
I'm so excited for Washington next year, and I can't wait for us to have those discussions on like our preseason looks for next year. But until we get to that point, these are no Wizards. These are apprentices. What do you even call like a training wizard? I'm not a Harry Potter guy like that.
I uh, I couldn't tell you,
I feel like apprentice is
but they
right.
will every for the next 3 games though. If I do see um a double digit spread for Wizards underdog, it will be looking at me like the Green Goblin mask. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, when you're seeing like plus 23.5, you're like, maybe they could survive.
Maybe, just maybe.
But yeah, teams of the week. Shout out Denver and Charlotte, and then poop teams of the week, Memphis and Washington. I took 2 teams from the West. You took 2 teams from the East. I think that's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
But moving over
Yes.
to our players of the week, somebody that I think we shit on a lot a couple episodes ago for just being old, being being kind of washed. But last 10 games with no Cade Cunningham, Tobias Harris has kind of been that guy. And when you look at the box scores, he hasn't had a game with over 25 points, but his line sitting at like 11.5 points, that's hitting 8 of its last 10. His assist line, 8 of its last 10. Points assist, you guessed it, 8 of its last 10. But wait, his total PRAs, 9 of its last 10. On fire here. Without Cade this season, he's been averaging 13.4, 5.5 rebounds, 3.7 assists. So I know Cade is going to be back sooner rather than later, according to some reports, which I am shocked to hear that. But while he's out, Tobias Harris might be your moneymaker.
Yeah, man. I mean, definition of just doing your job. Like it's like the old Patriot lingo. Just do your job. And that's what he's doing. I mean, that's what all of these Pistons players have been doing. I mean, I'm not going to go too deep into it because I know last week we talked a lot about the Pistons, and I feel like the last 3 weeks we've had a Pistons player be a player of the week. But with that being said, yeah, I mean, this team's kind of, proving us wrong. I mean, they still look pretty strong going into the playoffs, getting Cade back. I mean, it is kind of crazy, but when you look at when you look at that roster, it really does go to show like they did add some depth going into the playoffs, and like they are a team to still be taken pretty seriously. With K going down, a lot of me specifically, I'll admit I ruled out Detroit entirely, but they've been managing to hold on, and they've also been doing it in convincing fashion.
Yeah, resilience.
So.
Resilience. But we'll see what it looks like in the playoffs. But what about you?
And for me, my player of the week is also a player. 3 weeks ago was actually a poop player on the week, so he must have listened to the pod and said, "All right, watch me cook here." That player, Ayo Tsomu. So 8 of his last 10 for his points rebounds has cashed. He's averaged 25 in his last 10. 7 for 10 over 17.5 points. He's averaged 18. And then also 7 for 10 over 26.5 PRAs. He's averaged 30 in his last 10. So he's been kind of cooking. I mean, the Timberwolves, they've had some injuries the last few weeks. But he's been filling in that role pretty nicely. His over 18.5 points when he was so funny enough. So his stats 3 weeks ago, he hit over 18.5 points, 1 for 10. Over 22.5 PAs was 0 for 10, and then over 26.5 PRAs was 1 for 10 3 weeks ago. So in 3 weeks, he's really taken a jump. And if you've been paying attention to the books, if you've been betting the AO, I know, I mean, shout out Brooklyn. Brooklyn's been cooking with the AO picks this week, so.
Yeah, for reference, Brooklyn has been blowing up the group chat anytime that there's been some injury for Minnesota, and he's like hammered to Sumu's lines. And it's cashed. It's cashed.
It has.
And yeah, I think credit where credit's due. The first player on the podcast to be a poop player and then be a player of the week. So shout out AO for getting his flowers. But now getting to the negative side, going to our poop players of the week. I'm staying in Minnesota for this one. We're gonna turn back the clock. We're gonna slow things down a little bit for our guy Kyle Slow-Mo Anderson. Kyle Turbo with no gas Anderson.
That's good.
Did you ever watch Turbo? You know that movie?
No, I don't know what Turbo is.
There's an animated movie that it probably came out when we were like freshmen or sophomores in high school. But it was a Pixar movie about a snail that got like turbo.
Oh yes.
That was my Turbo with no gas reference. But why is Kyle Anderson here? You might be asking. Well, a lot of injuries to Minnesota. He's looking at a line at 9.5 points, and the under at 9.5 has hit 100% in its last 10 games. Last 20 games, 95%. On the season, 85%. Kyle Anderson, I know he's only playing about 20 minutes a night, but this is not a guy that you're betting on to get 10 plus points. He's had a total of 6 games this year where he's racked up double digits in the box score. And a guy that doesn't shoot threes, mind you, has not hit a three this season and is shooting 43% from the field, averaging not even 4 points a game. What is Kyle Anderson doing for you? I think at this point in the season, just soaking up minutes. But
Cardio.
not even like he's getting his shots up. Like, he went 1 for 6. You go for you go 2 for 5 sometimes. But for him to get 10 points, that's a feat that we haven't seen often this year. So I know some injuries in Minnesota have boosted his line to 9.5, but I am fading that every day of the week.
Under 9.5, 100% in the last 10 is
85% for the season.
That's
Like the
wild.
season is almost over. 85%.
Well, your player has actually been bad consistently. Moving over to my player though, which is a name that I never thought I would bring up. Gonna say De'Aaron Fox. Now, this isn't necessarily the Spurs are winning, so you can't. I wouldn't necessarily this is him to blame, but in his last 10, his over at 27 points assists has not hit. He's averaging 19 in his last 10. And funny enough, the last time that this hit was March 12th. It is when the Spurs played the Nuggets, and he had 21 points and 9 assists. But since March 12th, he has not hit this line. He has also hit his points line at 20.5, 2 for his last 10. He's averaged 14.5 points in his last 10 games. And I wouldn't necessarily say that's him taking a back seat. I would say that's more the Spurs young core kind of taking the step up. We've heard a lot about Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper's making a come up. So he's kind of like he's playing his role. I mean, that's kind of what they traded him for. He's a really good guard at leading the offense. And I mean, when you have Wemby on your team too, you're not going to necessarily, he's not going to be having to put up those 30, 35 point games that he's having to do in Sacramento. He's kind of more the facilitator role in that offense. But I mean, if you're taking his props, it's been pretty ugly.
Yeah, I think some rumors online or arguments, debates, discussions have come up about De'Aaron Fox and his clutch performances. Like, he's not a very efficient player when it comes down to clutch time, where it's a tight game late in the fourth quarter. And then when you look at his playoff numbers back in Sacramento, they also aren't that prolific. So somebody that's been good through the regular season, but you're seeing struggles as of late and maybe at the worst time possible. Like you said, the Spurs, they've got the depth. They've had all these different pieces that really can go out and provide like a number one on any given night. But this is not what you want to see from a guy that you kind of traded a lot, you gave up a lot for. So that's a little worrisome.
Definitely.
But wraps up our players of the week. Shout out Tobias Harris and Ayo Dosunmu for making us a lot of money, and not really a shout out for Kyle Slomo Anderson and De'Aaron Fox for struggling a little bit as of late. And I don't know if you want to take that as ride the hot hand, see how long that fade will last, or if it's the law of averages and you believe that, De'Aaron Fox and Kyle Anderson are truly going to break out with these 2 games left in the season. But let's switch over to the gridiron, the meat and potatoes, the
You're
NFL
so
draft. Before we get into the mock draft, I think there are a couple things that I wanted to discuss. We're going to be doing fantasy football mock drafts where we're talking more like the skill position players, things like that. But just talking draft overall, I think this is the first draft since the Kenny Pickett draft where it's pretty well understood that there's a guaranteed quarterback going in the first round. But outside of that, there isn't looking like there is a clear second quarterback to be drafted. I think that's going to be the case where we're not going to see a second one get drafted, but a team like the Jets could be interested. A team like the Steelers, we still don't know what Rodgers is up to. I don't think there's going to be a second quarterback, but curious if you think differently.
No, I don't necessarily think so either. I mean, out of all the other options that is there, like I don't see Nussmeier being a low tier first round pick. I don't see Carson Beck going in the bottom of the first round. I don't see Cade getting picked up there
Ty
pretty high.
Simpson?
So Ty Simpson maybe, but like even then though, I feel like these are guys that teams know that they can kind of there's positions in this first round that are very more valuable for most of these teams that we're gonna obviously talk about in a few minutes. But I feel like, especially in this draft, you kind of have a lot more leverage to kind of wait a little bit and see if these guys fall and get them later on and not. But then again, you never know. I mean, I could see a team maybe trading down and trying to get a little more value and take them at that point because then they stock up. But I think it's safe to say it's probably just the one going.
Well, according to Dan Orlovsky, this was something that he said that got a lot of hate online because he thinks Ty Simpson is better than Fernando Mendoza. But not only that, he said that according to almost half the GMs in the league believe that Simpson is a better quarterback than Mendoza. So there hasn't been much talk of a second quarterback going into the first round. But him saying that, maybe a team does end up trading back into like the later half of the first round and grab him, or like what I think a realistic mock draft would show, I think Simpson's still going to be there in the second round. And if you're really that, confident in the guy, go trade up early in the second and go get him. But to talk still about trades too, how many overall trades do you think we'll see on draft night, or even before, like as we're recording this? I know there's like 2 weeks before the NFL draft, but I don't, I would love to see a lot of picks, or a lot of trades. I think a realistic thing to say is there's probably going to be about 2 to 3. I think 2, a little bit more realistic.
Yeah.
What teams do you think would be the ones that are making calls, trying to make some moves?
Well, one for me, and we kind of talked about this before we started recording. The Jets at 2, I think they're in a pretty interesting spot. I know they also pick at 16, but I mean, the guy that they need probably gonna get taken at 1. I mean, Fernando's clearly the 1-1. I think that's kind of set in stone here. So I feel like they have a lot more leeway at 2. I mean, but there's a lot that this team needs, obviously. So I feel like if there's a team calling for 2, one of these one of these teams that, between whether it's maybe the Giants want to move up, maybe the Browns want to move up to 2, I think they could maybe move down, get a few extra picks out of the first round, and then take maybe an edge, or maybe take a lineman in the mid first round and stock up some of those picks from 2. I think that could be kind of interesting. That's kind of something that I saw. But then again, it's the Jets, so I don't think they could think that far in advance.
Yeah, I mean, when you got that owner that's looking at Madden ratings, how is he supposed to correctly predict this draft if he doesn't know their Madden overalls yet?
Yeah, I can see that.
No, I think the Jets do have a reason to. It's like the same thing that you can give a case for like the Dolphins, right? Where you're just like, you need everything that realistically getting more picks later in the draft is just going to help you more than, necessarily like taking a guy second overall and him not being the guy that you want. I think the Titans are also in a really interesting spot. Again, I've talked about all the additions they've made, and if a team does end up wanting to sneak into the top 5, that's a big asking price. And I think if you're Tennessee and you already have, you still got a lot of things you need to tune up there. And if a team is trying to trade up, almost 10 selections to try to jump into the top 5, then that's coming at the cost of maybe a future first, at the very least a high second round pick. So I think they're a pretty interesting team. I think the Chiefs are another team that, both the Chiefs and the Eagles, I'd throw as teams you really can't doubt on draft night. I mean, the Eagles are notorious for, if there's a guy they want, how he's going to go up there and trade for him. So I think the Eagles, if they see a player start to drop, they might jump in. But also the Chiefs. I mean, you're sitting at pick 9. Realistically, yeah, like if you wanted to jump up a couple slots, if there's a guy that you really want on the board, I don't think it's going to be too much of a big ask when you're talking about that price. So I think there are a few teams here that can make some moves on draft night.
I could definitely see the Chiefs. I mean, this is the first time in the Mahomes era they're picking within the top 10. So, I mean, if there's a guy that they have on their board that is still up there by like pick 5, 6, I could see them trying to make a bid to go up there and get him.
I know you're making pick 9, and the Chiefs was one of those where I was like, there's a lot of things I hope Nick does with this pick, but there's one position I really hope he doesn't go that way. And I'm wondering if you do, because if you do, I'm gonna create a little discourse with it. But I don't want to wait any longer. Put up the draft board. Let's show the viewers.
I shall.
So, Nick is going to be, of course, taking odds. I'm going to be taking evens. and oh, you don't have to stream it.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, no.
I thought you said I did.
Well, no, I need you to record it.
Oh, hold on. I have to record my screen then.
For those while we're waiting for Nick, we always record in Discord, and Nick pressing the watch stream button, it messes up the Discord call. Like, we have both of each other on our sides, but the stream box splits us into thirds. So if you just notice a quick visual cut there, that's because I had to realign the boxes.
Yeah. Hold on.
But let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I haven't used OBS in a while, so give me a minute.
You're good. Looking at the big board, if we were taking, drafting off of PFF, currently has the top 5 going: Fernando Mendoza, Arvel Reefs, Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles, and then Ruben Bain Jr., all basing them off of their ADPs during this mock draft season. But looking, while Nick's still doing that, talking about the top of the class, I think there's a lot of fun athletes here. A lot of explosiveness, especially when you're talking about those guys from Ohio State. Sonny Styles, Arvel Reefs, both guys that, that are playing a position that normally doesn't go very high in the draft, and you're looking at these guys as top 5 talents. Obviously, the same thing with Jeremiah Love, a running back that, the last time I think we saw a running back get drafted this high, we're talking Saquon Barkley, we're talking Ezekiel Elliott. So, and of course, Ashton Genty of last year. So, being in that caliber of names, you know that there's going to be a decent amount of production coming there. And then you've had recent soarers like David Bailey out of Texas Tech that had a good combine, and now he's an argument as being the best edge in the draft. So, an interesting draft overall. I don't think this is a very fun draft skill position wise. You have a lot of different receivers that are going to be going in the first round, but I don't know about you. I'm not as high on this class as I am the year previous or the year ahead. Basing it off of receivers.
Oh, receiver wise, no, I wouldn't necessarily say so. I would say more this is like very defensive heavy, offensive heavy draft. I think I'm all set.
You got it recording?
Yeah, it's recording. I just wanted to make sure it was doing it right, but we should. And it just crashed. My whole computer just crashed.
Oh, but we're still here.
Well, I can't touch anything right now.
Okay.
Oh wait, hold on.
Well, let me go through some picks that I think are going to be, if I have to try to predict what you're going to be doing. Obviously, I think you're going to go Mendoza.
All right, we're good.
With the 1.
We're good.
Okay, perfect.
We're good. Sorry.
They just got to listen to me yap for a little bit. But
I'm ready.
With the 1-1, it goes with you whenever you make your pick.
The 1-1, obviously, it's going to be Fernando Mendoza.
No surprise there whatsoever. I mean, probably the pick we'll talk about the least just because of that. And now sitting at 2 here, again, Arvel Reefs, I think is, as of right now, what would be the most expected player off the board. I'm not going that way. I want to see your reaction to that. The Jets, they traded away Jermaine Johnson this offseason. That you could pick out so many different areas of need for this Jets team. But I'm going to stick with the edge here. I think they really need to establish something on that D-line. And yeah, I'm taking Ruben Bain Jr. I'm not worried with some of the combine worries that were created from that. They're saying that he doesn't have a good first step. The arms are an issue, but this is a dude that's just a bull. And we need a bull in the china shop at MetLife, because oh my god. But is that who you thought I was going to take?
No, I thought you were going to go Arvel Reese.
Throwing you for a loop with my first pick.
So, funny enough, I actually had Ruben Bain going 3 to the Cardinals because the Cardinals had 30 sacks on the year last year. This team is bad. They really needed that edge help. But if Arvel Reese is going to fall from 2, then we're going to take him at 3. I think anything is going to help this Cardinals team that is clearly in a rebuild right now.
Well, Arvel Reese is also a dog. He has
100%.
He has a really good player comp to like Isaiah Simmons when he came out of college, and I don't know if that gives Cardinals PTSD because we've seen this story once before. But yeah, I like the pick there. Number 4 here with the Titans, again, an opportunity. I think they could trade down. Could also use some help on the O line. Um, Receiving core, obviously. I mean, I know they drafted a lot of guys late in the draft last year, but not too much there. But I think the window is right there. You have a sophomore in Cam Ward. You just went out, you spent a bunch of money, and I really wanted this team to sign Ken Walker, and they didn't. So I I'm taking Jeremiah Love here at 4. It might be a little bit of a reach when you consider like positional value, but you're talking about a guy that is a top 4 player in this draft based off of like just pure big board and getting rid of positions. So I think he does a lot for that Tennessee team.
I love it. That's honestly where I had Love going as well, which I hope he goes because 1-1 dynasty, baby.
Nick
Need
is
it.
the owner of a 1-1. I'm so jealous. Well, I'm not
Need
jealous of
it.
the season it took for you to get that. You deserved the 1-1. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, we don't need to get into that right now. But going to pick 5, going into New York, this team, they had a lot of upside last year. I mean, not a lot of games won, but however, they had some bright spots. I mean, Jackson Dart had his flashes. They found some help in Cam Scatterbo, but this defense still needs some help here. And I wouldn't necessarily say the D line is an issue. I would say more the secondary. So I have the Giants going Sonny Styles here at number 5 out of Ohio State. I think he'd be a solid addition to this team. They're very much lacking in the secondary. I mean, we've seen it last year. I mean, they were just terrible. So I think if they're gonna go help in the defensive area, especially for this team at 5, I think linebacking help is much needed.
Yeah, I mean, you could have taken either one of those guys from Ohio State. I don't think there's a problem there. I mean, Sonny Styles is
Yeah.
just going to be, he's just going to come into any team and be an immediate contributor, and a guy you can move around. Secondary linebacker. He can do a little bit of everything. But
Hmm.
Cleveland here, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to give you the option here. Do you want me to take the fun pick, the one I think they could end up doing, or do you want me to go a little bit more cookie cutter?
I like I like I like the fun pick.
Okay. With the 6th overall pick, I'm gonna have the Browns taking Mekhi Lemon.
Wow,
I know Carnell Tate,
that's
according to PFF, is graded higher, but I think Mekhi Lemon is a little bit of a safer wide receiver pick here. I know at USC, I don't want to call him the exact same player that Amon Ra is, but I think there's a lot of that there. A good yak guy, good with his hands, and I think if you're gonna take the first receiver off the board so far in the last few years, those guys that just win at the contested catch point, they're good players. Don't get me wrong, but you're seeing those guys that actually can separate without getting the ball in their hands. Those are the guys that stick out to me. And Cleveland is in desperate need of a playmaker. And you could go O line there as well, but I think just putting a wide receiver in that room is something they desperately need.
Hmm.
What did you think
I
I was going
had.
to go there?
Um, I can't say his last name. Tackle out of Miami,
Mwaga?
Francis. Yeah, Francis Muaga, because that's who I had them taken at 6.
They very well could, but I want to look crazy
Hmm.
there.
But going to 7 here, sticking in the receiver room, I got Carnell Tate going 7 to the Commanders. Actually,
Ooh,
um,
that's sick.
I think, I think pairing Carnell Tate with Jaden Daniels would be awesome. And I think it would just, especially with how this team looked last year, a lot of injuries. I mean, Jaden Daniels had I feel like the sophomore curse of having the amazing rookie season, and then his second year, he just couldn't stay healthy on the field. And I mean, this whole offense in general just really was kind of lackluster. I mean, they traded for Debo. He didn't really was able to stay on the field. They had that whole fiasco with Terry McLaurin last year. So I think getting a nice, young, exciting receiver who already can be established for Jaden Daniels, that'd be huge for this offense.
I think that's so exciting. Putting those like it's good for Tate to not have to go in and immediately be the number 1 guy that they have to guard. So I think that
Yeah.
helps him out. And then like yeah, I think that just makes the Commanders a lot more fun. Looking at the Saints here, I really want to take Uaga, but I don't think this is necessarily the perfect fit for him. I know we're gonna be 8 picks deep, and still no linemen taken off the board, but establish the D line a little bit. I'm gonna go with David Bailey out of Texas Tech. I don't think he falls any further. Again, realistically, based off this ADP, we had him falling just a 2 picks out of where he normally would be taken. But put some more meat on the D line. I think for the Saints, you've already invested a lot on the offense in this offseason. And you saw guys like, a lot of linebackers go out the door. So not necessarily a linebacker, but, you're talking about a guy that can just be an immediate impact for this team. I fully support it.
Yeah, I mean, I had him going here, and I know there's kind of rumblings if Cam Jordan doesn't reside to the Saints. So if he doesn't, if they let him walk, I mean, they still have a very solid centerpiece in David Bailey. And if he does stay, then you got two monsters on that D line, so
If
that'd be huge.
if we didn't take both those receivers back to back, I think that's a receiver pick for the Saints. That could also be
Oh,
a good spot.
100%. Now, this pick that you've been so now things have changed because I really thought that Muaga was going to be taken higher. But now that he's still here, I'm probably going to have him go into Kansas City. I think when you have a talent, a top 10 tackle, and if he does fall to you at 9, especially when you have Patrick Mahomes who's coming back from this injury, you got to protect the guy. And you're already pairing him up with a pretty solid offensive line. That's how it was beforehand. So Francis Muaga, I'm going in at 9.
That's not the pick I expected, but also again, when I was mocking earlier, I didn't have Moaga falling this far. I was scared
Hmm.
that you were gonna take a receiver.
Oh, I was not.
Yeah,
No, I wasn't
which
gonna take it.
then
It
after
was that. It definitely would. If it wasn't, if Moaga wasn't gonna be here, it was gonna be. It was probably gonna be a safety. It was. It was definitely gonna be someone for the secondary.
this is the only pick, and I guess we'll see. We're not gonna be doing the full draft, but the Chiefs do have a pick, later in the draft at 29 from the Rams. But I think they have to address the secondary in some way during this draft. Uh, Caleb Downs being on the board, Mansour Delane being on the board, Jermod McCoy being on the board. I think those are 3 names that I would have definitely. I'm not saying your pick is again he fell, but I think that at some point they are gonna have to take a corner. Like if there's one thing I'm most confident in when the draft happens in 2 weeks, it's that the Chiefs with one of these 2 picks will be taking a cornerback. And based
Yeah.
off how I was mocking, they've got good spots here. But because we hear all those names still on the board, Cincinnati, the Swiss cheese defense that it is, the doormat that it is, come on in, welcome in. I think you take Caleb Downs here.
Yeah.
I comp him kind of like Kyle Hamilton. This dude's just gonna wreak havoc all around the field. And for Cincinnati, there's gonna be a lot of opportunities.
I mean, yeah, this is your only bright spot on your defense. It's basically like, here's the keys, buddy. Try to make us not rank 30.
Can you do everything?
Yeah, basically. Well, so I had Mekhi Lemon originally going to the Dolphins at 11. Um, he went much higher than I thought. He was gonna.
Makai. Yeah, no, I
So
based off PFF I reached, but depending on how you rank this receiver class, I think he falls in a good spot.
right, but with this being said, this being the like that pod mock draft, when you're giving all this money to a mobile quarterback who likes to run, you're gonna need a line to guard him. So I'm kind of torn here, but I'm gonna go with Spencer Fano out of Utah here. Um, and I'm only saying that I'm really torn between him and Monroe Freeling from Georgia, but I don't know. Spencer. He just had better PFF grades his last 2 seasons. I mean, he played 12 games the last 2 seasons, 6'6", 308. He's only 21. I mean, anything for this Dolphins team would be helpful. I do think that they take a receiver at that pick, but with this, like I just said, I do see offensive line also being a big need for this team.
Miami is the one of few teams you could just go like you just
Yeah.
you just have to like for those listening, I just closed my eyes and pick the best guy.
I
Because
mean, you trade away
everything
Jaden
is
Waddle. Realistically, like your cornerstone for this offense is your QB and running back. You got to protect these guys. So realistically, if you're not taking a receiver, you're taking a lineman.
yeah.
So
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with anything that you have to do there because yeah, the O line was terrible and it's no longer Tua who gets the ball out instantly. Malik Willis needs something there. Uh,
yeah,
Dallas now at pick 12. I have them taking Mansour Delane, CB1 in this class. Desperately need to fix that secondary. Again, we talked about Cincinnati's defense being Swiss cheese, but for most of last year, we were shitting on that Cowboys defense for the same reasons. And yeah, I think you could have gone with any, here you can go Delane or you can go Jermon McCoy. I think they're both incredible fits.
yeah. I like Mansoor here. Moving to 13. Maybe a little bit of a reach, maybe not.
Oh, please
But
do it. I really wanted to. I low-key got mad that you got odds because I'm like odds. There's so many fun picks.
I got Jordan Tyson
Yes.
going to the LA
Yes.
Rams. Okay, nice. I think this would be a really fun pick for the Rams. I mean, pairing him up with Matthew Stafford, I think it'd be sick having him in the receiving room, especially with Puka. Hopefully, I mean, hopefully everything, this whole offseason stuff that's been dealing with him is resolved. But Jordan Tyson to the Rams would be really cool. That'd be awesome.
I'm so happy that you and I were thinking the same way. Yeah, because Tyson, dude. I mean, you could argue he is the wide receiver one. He has some injury problems that I think hold him back a little bit, but this is like the perfect landing spot. Like this is a guy that when fully healthy, he really can be. He can prove that he should have been. The wide receiver taken 6th overall. And instead, he's going to be playing behind, yes, Devontae Adams and Puka, but Devontae, last year of his contract, Puka, someone that struggled with injuries, and he's taken bites off the off the field, so he's got some things to worry about.
Yeah, man.
But no, I just think this is like a Rams team. You're already so complete. Like you don't really like anything you draft here realistically isn't a starter. And yeah, I think you do just take a flyer on a guy that has potential to be one of the best guys in this class. If you didn't take him there, I was going to take him at 14 for the Ravens. But instead, for the Ravens, I'm going to go with. We were just trying to pronounce this dude's name before we recorded, but I think it's Vega Ione out of Penn State.
Damn.
A team, yeah, you lost Linderbaum. Your guards were so bad last year. It's not a pretty pick, but Lamar needs some help with that O line. So you gotta bolster up the beef.
That's a good pick. I had him actually going here. I had him going 15 to the Bucks. Because I mean they have Tristan Wirfs, but Baker Mayfield still he was getting eaten alive last season. Towards the end of the year, it was pretty rough for him. But if that's the case, at 15, they still need some tight end help. I got them going Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon at 15. Cade Otton, he's getting up there. I mean, he's got they just need some versatility in this offense. They just lost Mike Evans, so I got him taking a tight end at 15.
That kind of surprised me. Again, it makes sense, definitely, and like Sadiq is going to be someone that like I was going to have going pretty. Like I was hoping he was going to get to Carolina. I know we're not going past the Jets here at 16, but I was going to talk about like some picks that I'd like to see post pick 16, and Sadiq to the Panthers at 19. I thought would have been so cool. I think he's just such a good.
But they got
such a good fit.
Jatavion Sanders. I don't think they.
What is Jatavion Sanders?
He was getting some snaps.
What is Tommy Tremble?
Like 16. Come on.
Yeah. So
16.
So let me get back to my pick here. The last pick that we'll be doing on the episode today, but Jets again. I think you take best player available. You can't go wrong. I'm taking Jermon McCoy. Somebody that, an ACL injury that definitely set him back. This obviously didn't play this season. When you go back to last year, if this dude was being talked about as a top 5 pick in the draft. So you take somebody that's fallen a little bit, add to the defense that needs a bunch. And if you're the Jets, yeah, I drafted you 2 defenders. I'm sorry to Jets fans that wanted a nice new receiver, maybe a nice tight end for Geno to sling it to. But no, we're going full defense. But yeah, that's the draft, or at least our first half. We have Fernando Mendoza, Ruben Bain Jr., Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles, Makai Lemon, Carnell Tate, David Bailey, Francis Muaga, Caleb Downs, Spencer Fano, Mansour Delane, Jordan Tyson, Vega Ione, Kenyon Sadiq, Jermon McCoy. gonna be honest, Nick. I didn't know what to expect doing a group draft, and I think in most scenarios you did what I was gonna do. The Jordan Tyson pick. Oh my god, that was cool.
High five.
Um,
No, good.
without us going through the rest of the draft, what are some like? Is there anybody else that's still on the board that you would like to see go to a specific team?
Um, Not really off the top of my head. I mean, mm, what do you got? You go first.
Well, one guy that's fallen a little bit has been Caden Proctor, the tackle out of Alabama.
Yes.
You're talking about a
Yep.
6'7" monster, but he definitely has his flaws. Definitely needs to be worked around. I saw mock drafts that had the Eagles taking him at 23, and that would be sick. That's a big O
That would be
line,
cool.
and also some great O linemen to work with too when you're in that area. And just talking skill positions, everybody likes to hear about the wide receivers. Um,
I was
I
about to say
I think
my guy Casey Conception.
yeah, I think that there are a few more receivers taken. I think maybe Carolina at 19. I think if
Mm.
Sadiq's not there, then you look at a guy like Omar Cooper Jr., Casey Conception,
Yep.
even Denzel Boston at that. And then specifically, like as you get down the board, I think the Bills at 26 are in a good spot to land a guy like Cassius Howell. Like you're gonna need some type of edge, and like they're at a good point where there's gonna be a lot of that in the draft at that point. But being two Patriots fans in here, I think I also have to ask you, what do you want to see at 31?
31. I mean, realistically, I feel like they go for lineman help again because that's just what the Patriots do here.
If
But
Caden
I mean,
Proctor's there, I'd love that.
I would love Caden Proctor at tackle. But I mean, Eli Stowers. Eli Stowers. That would be really cool.
That would
I'm
be
just
fun.
saying.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. Hunter, I love Hunter. Love Hunter Henry, but he's not getting any younger.
Yeah, I see. I love Sadiq so much. I haven't sold myself on Stowers yet. But I think if I was for the Patriots, I'd want them to go either O line or D line first, because you did see some key contributors in the D line leave. But outside that,
Yeah.
again, I think the Chiefs at 29. I think they're going to go secondary. I think Seattle obviously lost a lot of big pieces, but for those receivers that are supposed to go in the first round, talking about Omar Cooper Jr., Denzel Boston, Casey Conception, like realistically, I don't see too many different spots where they go. Like maybe if Cleveland doesn't take a receiver at 6 and now they're at 24 and one of them is on the board, I think that makes sense. Some people bring up Pittsburgh as a wide receiver spot. I know you just traded for Pittman and you have DK Metcalf, but not much thunder power outside of that.
Yeah.
The 49ers.
I mean, I was about to say their RB2 was their one of their leading receivers last year.
Exactly.
And they lost him. They just
Um,
lost him.
Maybe the Eagles at 23 take a receiver, and that kind of shows you that, when June 1st rolls around, that A.J. Brown really is out the door.
He's gone. Yeah.
So a lot to think about. Do you also think there's a second running back taken in the first round?
I was looking at it. I mean, Jadarian Price. There could be 2 Notre Dame running backs getting taken in the first round. That would be pretty cool. But then
To, like,
again,
Houston?
I could very much. Cause I mean, Houston. But then that running back room, you got 5 names there.
Yeah, but
got-
what are, I could have 5 cars, but they could all be, 2005 Honda Civics with, 3
I mean,
tires.
that's true. That's true. But also, if you're Jadarian Price, you're kind of pissed off getting getting drafted to the Texans.
I saw a report that David Montgomery was going to be the bell cow in Houston, and that
The what?
bell cow.
Oh.
So hearing that, I don't know if I'm a Texas fan, I'm like, yippee. But
What? Knuckles, man. You got Knuckles.
anything else you want to add about the NFL draft?
No, I'm. It's very soon. I'm very excited
It's
for
one
it.
of my favorite days of the year.
Doing this has gotten me more excited for it. I
And
will
then-
say.
And then again, in the summertime, we'll be doing some, or even probably sooner, depending on. We could definitely do a couple versions of it, but maybe pretty recently after the NFL draft, we do a fantasy football, rookie mock draft.
We should,
and get
because we'll have one coming up very shortly after the draft.
how many
So
rookie drafts do you have? Because I think I have 4 this year.
4. I have 4.
And the best pick I have in those drafts, I believe, is 1-6.
I got 1-5,
You got
1-1.
1-1.
Um, and then I don't know. There's another league that we're in with only 8. I don't know what that is right now.
Yeah,
I'm waiting on that pick.
Yeah, we will
So,
see. I mean,
we'll see.
8-man league. But socials, as always, going to be like that _pod, Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube, wherever you consume your media. And we will be back next week. Next week, we're talking NBA playoffs. By this time next week, we're going to have full seeding. So we're, assuming that there's going to be games on the Thursday that we're uploading this, you're going to hear some of our best bets for those nights. And we're going to be filling out our NBA brackets, seeing what we think is going to happen in the NBA playoffs. But two very exciting episodes for me. I love what we're talking about this week, and next week's just going to be as fun. So I'm pumped. I can't wait for next week.
Pumped.
You don't want to say goodnight?
Oh, good night.